Last class we finished off with speaking about praising improvements works better than criticizing, right? We remember that. We said the same is true with adults as it is with children, right? I gave this story of when all of the kids were at my house and they were all fighting over the toys, and I said, who wants to do a mitzvah? And I gave them a chocolate chip, and then one of the kids, they were all like, I want to do a mitzvah, I want to do a mitzvah, and then one of the kids came up to me and said, Mrs. Gush, there's no more mitzvahs for me to do, right? Because children, as adults do too, it was so funny, I was a madricha in this program, it was like this NCSY program, and there was this one guy there who was such a character, and I was once speaking to him about, I don't remember what we're saying, his reputation. He was like one of these like loud-mouthed guys, and he looked at me, he's like, you know what they say, any publicity is good publicity. So I'm like, is that what they say, right? So it's like kind of our minds compute that, and children's minds compute that. So instead of giving negative attention, instead of when your husband doesn't take out the trash, saying, oh, okay, why don't you ever help me? Catch him doing something right. And even when you catch him doing, just in time for the review, and even when you catch him doing something right, even if it's just minutely or just randomly, you can just make an extra comment of like, it means a lot to me. Okay, fine. Then I think this is what we finished off with, ask questions instead of giving direct orders, right? I was telling you all about, right, when I'm in the car, you should never listen to me when I'm telling you where to go, because I get very excited and I make like demands like, make a right here, right? People don't like being told what to do. People don't like being commanded no matter what. And even if you say, take out the garbage, please, right? It's like you command, it was nice, but like, it's nice that you said please, but like, it was still a command. So if you can just ask a question of like, what do you think we should do for Pesach this year? Instead of saying, we're going to my parents for Pesach this year, or instead of, and again, it was individual for certain circumstances, and Nicole asked a great question, which is, what if you don't want what if you ask a question and you know the answer is going to be an answer that you don't want, right? Which is a great question. So we said two things. One is that if you're able, we spoke about PPC, do you remember this? It was just yesterday? No, it wasn't yesterday, it was 2 days ago, yeah? Remember PPC, product capability, which is basically the results and the process getting there. Do you guys remember? Okay, so if you're able to get the same results but have that relationship in the meantime, meaning even if you plan on going to Israel regardless, but if your parents are the type that will feel included in that decision, even if they say, no, I don't want you to go, and then you plead your case, then do that, because why not have that extra, nice relationship with them? However, if it's going to lead to a battle, and if it's going to lead to them saying, well, then why did you ask me in the first place? Then don't ask that, right? These are just use wisely with what we're talking about. Okay, I want to move on. Number 7 on the sheet is talk about your own mistakes first. What am I talking about?
If you're going to bring up something that is an issue that the other person is doing, be like, I know that I've shown up late sometimes, and I know that's something that bothers you, but this time, you came late, and something that bothers me.
Yeah, great example. Give other ones. What other ones? No one here makes mistakes.
I just have so much experience.
No, you're the honest one. Not everyone's honest, but any other examples? Speak about your own mistakes first. Again, these are just tips in softening. We preface with saying don't criticize, but when we have to, it's helpful to praise. It's helpful to speak about your own mistakes first. Ellie, any examples?
The same thing as owning up to your mistake.
What do you mean?
Like what you were saying before with the police officer.
That's different. We're just talking about when I have to criticize you, it's helpful to speak about my own mistakes first, which is what Nicole was saying. Yeah.
Or you could just make, I don't know if it's the best thing to do actually.
Nothing I'm saying is always. Yeah. Right, that's clear. Everyone knows that, right? Nothing. Use your does.
If it involves like a really good friend or family, maybe even not even just family member, but like, you really have to judge the situation really and make sure it's the right time to do it, because it could not validate what you're going to say next.
It could backfire.
Kind of. Like,
first of all, pause. Hello, Danielle. Everyone, notice what Sam said. That is the basis of everything, okay? Das is, I have on my fridge a quote that says, a smart person knows what to say, a wise person knows whether or not to say it. Judge each situation differently. Every case is different. Some of these things, some of you should never use. Some of these things, it's helpful often. Some of them, use your judgment in every situation, like everything that goes without saying.
Like I think if you're in the workplace, you shouldn't really just kind of air out your dirty laundry and say, look, I show up late, but we really shouldn't do that anymore, you know? Or
It can be helpful though. It can be helpful when depending on the situation. But even if you are the boss, and who's ever been in the workforce, if you've had this experience and your boss says to you, you know, you got to hand in your assignments on time, you know, and like you've been slacking lately and I gave you this opportunity, so match up to it, right? Bosses do that. Or how would it sound if your boss called you in and said, Sam, you're doing a great job, right? Because we said first praise, you're doing a great job. I really appreciate it. You know, there was something I wanted to speak to you about, which I struggled with this when I was an intern also. When I was an intern, I was like, you know, fresh off the, you know, a freshie right out of university. I wasn't sure, and it's a lot to juggle. I see you're getting married. It's a lot to juggle, and again, and they say I struggle with the same thing. However, we have deadlines, and then you can bring in the din.
yeah, like the other day, I was really excited about going to a meeting with one of the teachers here, and something happened. I completely spaced out, and I went an hour late to show up to the meeting, and I was like mortified. I think they could tell that I really didn't intentionally miss the meeting. You know, I really thought that it was the right time, and they ended up saying, you know, it happens to everyone, spacing out, but so why don't we schedule something for next week, and maybe you should put in your phone, and this and that, and so it was a nice way for them to
To kind of not just point a finger.
yeah.
What would be more effective if you're caught smoking, if you're not allowed to smoke as a teenager or as a child, and you got caught smoking, let's say your parent, what is more effective? A parent coming up and yelling, which is what many parents do. Are you crazy? Right? First of all, how the heck did you get this? Do you not see all the words? Do you want to kill yourself? Do you want to just kill yourself, right? Or them saying like, you're smoking. I struggled with this as a kid, as a teenager also. It's really, and then giving it. Again, just a helpful tool. Preface with, I struggle with this too. You know, this week, what's the parsha this week? Noah. How it's like the whole Sefer Bereshis is like, you know, miraculous and amazing and the foundation for everything. But Noah starts off with Ele Toldos Noah, right? These are the offsprings of Noah. Noah ish tzaddik tamim b'dorasav, right? Have you heard this line before? Ele Toldos Noah. These are the offsprings of Noah. Noah ish tzaddik. Noah is a man, a righteous man. Tamim, a pure one, right? A wholesome one, bidorosav, in his generation. There is so much we can speak about this. I just want to throw this in there. What obvious questions do you have on this? Noah, these are the offsprings of Noah. Noah is a righteous man, a tzaddik, a wholesome person in his generation.
Why doesn't it list his offspring?
Obvious question, thank you. Why doesn't it says, these are the offsprings of Noah. You okay? These are the offsprings of Noah. And then it goes on to speak about the righteousness of Noah, right? So where are the offsprings? Chazal tell us such a beautiful idea. They tell us, these are the offsprings of Noah. What? And then it doesn't go on to list them. What is a person's offspring? What is a person's offspring? Obviously, they're children, right? Obviously, they're children. You have people who parents spend their entire lives giving to their children. This is your offspring. What does Chazal tell us? You're right. Your children are your offsprings. Your children are what is your continuity. However, what is your real offspring? What is your children are your real ones? What is your kinyan almost? What you own? Yourself. If you can put God in one word, how would you describe God? One. That's a good one, right? God's one. God's goodness, God's infinite, right? There's a million words you can use. Another word is God's a creator. What did God do? He created the world. And it says, right, we need to be God-like, right? We need to be, that's why we are Adam. We are meant to be Adameh. We are meant to be similar to God. How can I possibly be similar to God? So everyone says, the greatest way you can be similar to a creator is by being a creator, by having children. That's true. You are God-like when you have children. Being in a delivery room in the right time, everyone should be zocha to it. There is nothing more just like, there's no words to put to it. You make a bracha after you have children. It's amazing. In Israel, they bring you water to wash, because you're meant to wash your hands after you have a baby, and they're meant to say bracha. In Israel, they bring, it's amazing. They're just a lot of them are from. There's nothing more, there's no word on spine when you're there, and there's you, your husband, the doctor, the midwife, 4 or 5 of you in the room, and all of a sudden there's a sixth person. There's another human being. There's another human, it's like, where the heck did you come from? Where'd you come from? So that's being God, like you're being a creator. Says Chazal, they tell us, and what's more like being a creator? When you recreate yourself. So when it says, these are the offsprings of Noach, ish tzaddik. He is a tzaddik, tamim bidorosa, right? A wholesome person in his generation. In a generation, in a degenerative society, right? When God wanted to, and God did destroy the whole society, you had Noah. And it's saying that's what his offsprings are. That's also why it says, we're not going to go through the whole parsha, but one more beautiful idea in Parshas Noach is it says, Noach ish tzaddik, right? And there's not one extra word in the Torah, so no stone goes unturned. Why is it called ish? Why would you think Noach is called an ish? Just say Noach tzaddik. Noach was a righteous person in his generation. Is a man. Ish is a man. Why would they throw that word in there?
Oh, because maybe he was more complete, because he was closer to God.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. You look so right. More complete. That's ish, right? Man is the same word as eish, as fire. That's why they say this at all Sheva Brachos. There's certain Dvar Torahs that are said at everyone Sheva Brachos. This is one of them. When you have, an ish, which is a man, and you have an isha, which is a female, right? What do you have? You have Isha and Isha, that's what you have. But with Hey, it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Hey is Hashem, right? When you have Hashem, when it's a male and female coming together, it's an Ish and Isha. When it's two full, I heard this line, it's a great line, a complete half, meaning marriage is in the hospital. It's not two broken people coming to fix each other. That will end in a disaster. When you have two full half people coming together, then you have a Kadosh Baruch Hu in the relationship. That's what Shalom Bayis is. How if you take away the hey from the relationship, you take away the godliness, you take away the kedusha, you take away the actual unity, the giving of what a relationship is, then you have what's that? What are these two letters? Even just one of them. Eish. Eish. What's Eish? Fire, right? Eish HaTorah means the fire of Torah. Then you have Eish. That's what consumes a marriage, right? And it's totally I. And there's no HaKadosh Baruch Hu in it. There's nothing else in the relationship. That's what consumes a relationship. So when it says in Noach, like Adina said, and then we'll go on. When it says Noach ish tzaddik, ish, whenever you see the word ish, it's representative of totally fulfilled potential. Because ish is fulfilled potential. Any piece of wood has potential, right? How do I know? Because you light it on fire, then it becomes a fire, right? When you see the word ish, it's totally fulfilled potential. What's Adam? It's saying Noach ish tzaddik. He is totally fulfilled potential. Why? Especially in his generation, where it was not a high class society, where people were demeaning and degenerative society, but you had someone who was fulfilled potential. And I feel like all the more so with us today, when pretty much anything goes. if you look at some of the pictures from like the Grammys or the Oscars of any of these things, sometimes I'll look at the pictures, rarely, because why would I do that to myself? But sometimes I'll look at the pictures and I'll be like, what else can you do? Like, you can't get more naked. Like, you can't get more naked. If you know what I'm talking about, you know, unfortunately you do. If you don't, that's great for you. Like, they try so hard. And we're not going to get into politics because it's just a waste of air and a waste of time. But when I look at the two candidates running for presidency, I am shocked. It's shocking. It is actually shocking that these are the people who we are saying, what's a president is, you are a role model. You are a role model for our children. To be a president means I want our children to look at you and say, look at that successful human being. And the two role models are people who are saying words that I cannot repeat, who are lying, who are doing incredibly, whatever, you get it. If you're following the elections, you get it, you totally get it. So to be an Ish in this generation, to be able to use whatever tools that it is that we're speaking about is going totally against the grain. Have you ever felt like that? Like it's totally, whatever it is that you are doing, either here in Neve or just learning in your life, or the way that you live is like totally against the grain?
Nobody does this.
What's this?
Like, dropping whatever you're doing in your life and just like coming to Israel to study for X amount of time. It's not like the traditional path. Nobody does it.
That's a great way of putting it. Like, no one does this thing. It's funny though, don't people take a year off usually in between?
No,
Not anymore.
They used to.
In Europe, it's more common.
Travel.
They call it a gap year.
The gap year, right.
In America, people do it, especially if we're going to like further professional school. But like, they'll just like travel.
Do something fun, not go.
It's not like so serious. Like I think they're seeking the same thing, like that like spiritual connection, but like they don't know that, and so they'll travel and like explore and then come back and just do whatever they're doing. With like having grown and changed, but not necessarily in positive ways.
Sometimes in positive ways, it depends, right? It can be, depending on how it is. Traveling is super enlightening. It just
to come to like a religious school and learn how to be religious. That's new.
all right. That's different. My parents didn't think this was a good idea. My friends didn't think this was a good idea.
Nobody supports it. We get it.
Rav Noach Weinberg says a great line. He says, when you first start doing something right, everyone says you're crazy. When you start being halfway successful, they say, I knew it all along. And he says, and you know when you're really successful? When they say, I can do it better than you. He says, Baruch Hashem, he's the founder of Eshator. He says, Baruch Hashem, today they all know how to do it better than me. So in general, this is just a great principle to live with in life. In general, the more right something is, the more opposition that you'll have with it. Zel umazed, this equals that. So the more you feel strongly in anything, in religious beliefs, in replies to in what you want your job to be, and who you want to marry, you know, it's usually like, I feel very strongly about it, and it's right, then it usually has like that opposing, factor to it. And so our job here is to, with everything that we're learning, everything you're learning in all of these classes, is to be that ish. And it says Chazal, b'makom she'ein ish, tishtadel lihyot ish. In a place where there's no man, you need to stand up and be that man. What does that mean?
Support.
Support what?
Support like your other half, since we don't have like our other half, like you.
Oh, you're saying in the place where there's literally no man? Is that what you're saying? That's so nice. You're saying like be for both of you almost? Yeah. That's so sweet. That's for sure true also. And it's for sure true because again, we said you're not going to marriage like, chasar and lacking in the sense that I need you to fulfill something for me. Yeah, it just exacerbated, right? If you go into marriage with issues, it will just be exacerbated by living with another human being that's totally different than you.
I got rise to the challenge, basically, from a place that there's men.
Yeah, in a place where there's no man standing up to do something, b'makom she'ein ish, in a place where there's no man, tishtadel, you need to try and to stand up to be that man. I actually feel that very strongly now with what's going on in the world as a whole, in the world, especially in Iran, Iraq, and Africa, like Darfur. If you see, which half the world's blind to it, half the world sees it, but is just pretending like they don't see it. If you see what's going on with these Yazidis and with these, innocent, for sure women and children, but males also, what's going on in Iran and Iraq, women are being enslaved as sex slaves on a daily basis. There is literally a Holocaust going on. There is a Holocaust going on today. And as Jews, we say, how could the world not have done something? If you know anyone who is a Holocaust survivor, which we are, the responsibility is on us because we are the last generation, which is, I have chills just saying this, connected to the Holocaust, right? Maybe your grandparents were Holocaust survivors, you know someone who was a Holocaust, like it's a real thing to us, right? It was only finished in 1945. And when you see and hear the horrors of the Holocaust, you say, where was the world? How could this happen? That's happening today. That is happening today. If you hear these harrowing stories of these women, these 9, 10-year-old women being sold as sex slaves, and what they have to do, and total malnourished and ripped away from their children, b'makom she'ein ish, and I believe that applies to this also, which I believe as Jews we should stand up and do something for that. We have a responsibility, not just to the Jewish nation, especially to the Jewish nation, but we have a responsibility to the world as a whole to lift the world up. And if you see something, and any rabbi, which I've spoken to many rabbis about this, of like, what are we doing as Jews? They're like, you're right, we should do something. You're right, we have a responsibility. That's what b'makom she'ein ish means. In a place where there's no one doing something, so you stand up and do it. How do we just get on this whole tangent? I don't know.